Welcome to the Sisters in Service podcast. My name is Kat Corchado. I'm a fellow Air Force veteran who, after 20 years of active duty, struggled with transition after leaving service. The Sisters in Service podcast is a platform to include all women veterans, organizations, military spouses, and Blue Star, Gold Star families in talking about the trials and triumphs we face while in service and after service. I want to take a moment to thank all of you who have taken the time to listen and follow me on my journey. My podcast is every Tuesday, and I hope you will tune in. Until then, please be safe, take care of each other, and until next time. Hello, Sisters in Service. Welcome to another episode of our show. I am, of course, your host, Kat Corchado, and we have as our guest today, DeAndria Hardy, who is in charge, or who is the executive director of BattleBetty Foundation, which she'll explain a little bit more about. But I just wanted to say welcome to DeAndria. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So you're probably like, oh, I don't know who DeAndria is. Well, let me explain a little bit. She's the founder and executive director of BattleBetty Foundation, which is the upstate of South Carolina's first women veteran-focused nonprofit organization. She's a service-disabled Marine Corps veteran. She founded BattleBetty in 2018 after recognizing the gap in services with sensitivity to the gender-specific needs of women veterans. So, DeAndria, tell us a little bit about your service. What did you do? When did you go in? What did you do? What type of service, et cetera?
Okay, so I joined the Marine Corps in 2009. I was actually in college at the University of Tennessee, went to a career fair, realized I hated what I was doing with my major, spoke to some recruiters, and 2 weeks later I was in boot camp. So I went to where all women Marines go to train at Parris Island, and I became an ammunition technician. So basically, if you can shoot it or blow it up, we're responsible for giving it out. So that's what I did. So did various leadership things with them. So fire team leader, squad leader. I deployed to Dakar, Senegal as part of Operation Western Accord, which is kind of a joint operation thing where we teach African partner nations kind of how to run their military. So how to do ammunition supply, how to do enemy control points, how to run, firing ranges, things like that. So not long after coming back from that, I started having lots of mental and physical health issues. So unfortunately, what is becoming too common and not really dealt with in the military, I was a victim of military sexual trauma. So the Marine Corps is very much about if they can't deploy you or send you out again, they kind of look to process you out. Mm-hmm. So I spent a year kind of going through the whole med board and submitting paperwork and all that, and eventually was honorably discharged in 2014.
Okay, let me interject here for just a second. Let's go back. So she just glossed over Marine Corps like it was just the most natural thing in the world. So I'm going to ask you, mm-hmm. Did you pick the Marine Corps or did the Marine Corps pick you?
A little bit of both. So like I said, I went to a career fair in Thompson Bowling Arena, and they always set up the military recruiters right there together. So, I spoke to, the Navy, and I spoke to the Army, a little Army guy, good spiel and all that. And right next to him was the Marine Corps recruiter. So I'm standing there talking to him, and the Army guy's like, well, you don't really want to do that, do you? That's going to be really hard. So, I'm not very tall in stature. I was really, really skinny at the time. And I'm like, well, you don't know me. Maybe I can do this. And of course, who ended up being my recruiter, Sergeant Criddle, was like, yeah, we'll let you do anything you want to do. So there you go. And I was in the Marine Corps. My mom was not very happy about it. She's like, I sent you to school, not to go
to the Marine Corps. Right.
Yeah. So I came home, from summer break and hey, Mom, I'll be gone in 2 weeks.
Guess what?
Yeah. And basically a lot of much, you sure you can't get out of it? Have you signed anything yet? And of course, by then, you're like, I'm in. Yeah, I was already in.
There's no looking back.
Yeah.
So how did you did you pick to get into being an ammo tech?
No, not really. So all the things I wanted to do, I was too short for. So I'm only 5'2", and the Marine Corps has a lot of height requirements that generally kind of start at 5'4". So a lot of things I wanted to do, I couldn't. So they're like, well, you have pretty good aptitude. I did fairly well on my ASVAB. I had some college behind me. They're like, hey, it's, really organized. You will be responsible for potentially $1 million worth of stuff. We think this might be a good fit. And there you go. So it was one of the few things that was still available that sort of kind of interested me. So that's how I end up as an ammo tech and not motor T or military police or any of those other things that I wanted.
Well, that's interesting because in the Air Force, there's a waiver for that. There's a waiver for like, wait, why, how did you get it? Oh, there's a waiver for that. But I have to tell you this story. I was active duty. I was at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, and it was a Marine Corps female, little tiny blonde. I'll never forget it. It was an Army guy, and there was another person, but I can't remember who that person was. Anyway, so the Air Force guys, you know how we always make fun of the services, make fun of each other. So this Air Force guy comes up and says, and they start talking about push-ups. Now this little Marine, impeccably dressed, she had her uniform like someone painted it on her. Okay. And in a skirt, and they started talking about push-ups. And I don't know why this Air Force guy said this, but he challenged them to a push-up competition. Uh-huh. He was talking to the guy. Mm-hmm. And the Marine said, I'll take that. How much are we bidding? And so he said 100 push-ups. She went down and in a skirt, banged out 100 push-ups like it was nobody business. Okay. Not, she got to 51 and so it was like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. The Air Force guy, I think, got to 21. And then just said, here's your money.
Yeah, whatever, here's your money.
And I was like, wow, okay,
Yeah,
but
we tend to be a different breed of people.
Yeah, it was like she didn't talk any trash. She's like, how many? He goes, how about 100? She goes, okay. And it's like, she didn't blink. I was like, wow, okay, good for you.
Yeah. If she was small, kind of like I did you with a lot of things with women, you kind of have to be twice as good. So she was probably, doing all that extra training and stuff on your off time. I remember in the Marine Corps, when I was getting close to getting out, one of the things the Marine Corps decided is that, hey, you know what, we're trying to move everything more to a gender neutral thing. And women are going to now have to start doing pull-ups. So they only did it to, I think the minimum was like 2, the max was 8. So, not anything crazy. Right. But like, the guys like, oh, y'all never be able to do that. And, the men, it was like, I think 3 was the minimum, 20 was the max. And so, of course, there were only like 5 or 6 women in my unit. And we all did the pull-ups. And I'm like, and, you got the guys struggling to do the 3. And it's like, see, it's not, it's you. Like you said, you have to work a little hard. So you do all the extra stuff just so you can make sure you can keep up. So you never have to see, oh, that woman is falling behind or whatever the case may be. So
it's really funny. Have you ever seen those competitions where, and they do this on America's Funniest Home Videos? Have you ever watched that show? Yeah. And there's something where, a woman can, she'll be have her head against the wall and she could pick up a chair and stand up, and a guy can't do it. And it's so funny. And they're like, I don't understand. What's the center of gravity? Yeah. A guy, his center of gravity is in his chest and ours is in our hips. So we just pop up like it's nobody's business. God, it kills them. They're just like, I don't understand. Why can't I do this? Because it seems so simple. Yeah. So you got out of the military. You were honorably discharged, excuse me. And then after transition, there were some things that happened in your life. Do you mind talking to our audience about that? Yeah,
it's something I've kind of grown to be a little more comfortable with because there was a time when, just generally ashamed and kind of not want to talk about it. But after the service, I tried to kind of keep pushing and move on, go to work and do all the things that you're expected to do, when you get out of service. But I started having a lot of mental health things. So, being really anxious and jumpy, like out in public, not good in crowds, really bad nightmares. So there was a period in 2016 where for about a year, I didn't leave my house at all. My mom moved in with me, but, everything that we think of as convenience for us, actually became a crutch for me. So like I could get my groceries delivered. My sister lived with me so she could get the mail. Like I never had any reason to leave my house because I got so afraid of it anyway that I was like, what do I need that for? I can, order shipped or whatever the thing, like groceries.
Right. Why leave? Yeah.
Why leave? Somebody will, deliver it and bring it to me. So, kind of in a bad way. And then the more I stayed in, the harder it was to get out.
To leave. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, my sister lived with me and she helped a lot. But in January of 2016, my sister was killed in a car accident. So while I'm already kind of dealing with a lot, and she was kind of the support there, when she would get off work, she, would work second or third shift, get off, she'd come and hang out with me. We'd watch Walker, Texas Ranger, somebody to kind of still keep that. Yeah, I know that. It's a very weird show to be obsessed
It's funny. You're like, I actually watched that.
Yes, it's a great show. And so we would, watch that and, kind of talk. It was a way for me to still get some sort of social interaction.
Mm-hmm.
But she was, we lived in North Carolina at the time in Wilmington. She was going back to South Carolina to visit her boyfriend and had an accident on, kind of a bad weather night. And so while I'm already kind of struggling and not really talking to a lot of people, the one person that I had kind of got accustomed to, being there when I can't really get outside, she passed away. So I was already kind of not really working. My mom was trying to, help. She was staying with me some, helping pay my bills, but she also had a lot to deal with. And so it just kind of, the support that I did have kind of fell away. So I ended up, losing my apartment, evicted from there. So I was homeless. I was already not working because, work only paid for disability for so long. So, I packed up what little I had, put everything in my car, since my mom was moving back to South Carolina, I came too. But I came with everything that I, still had possession of in my car and still no place to go. But I was like, well, I don't want to be left here in Wilmington by myself.
Right.
So I kind of did the couch surfing thing. So any family member that would let me stay till they got tired of me, my sorority sisters. So just kind of whoever would help me. But I was finding that despite my service, despite having a honorable discharge, there was nowhere veteran service wise that was willing to help me. There was always a reason, a lot of it came down to they kind of say all veterans are welcome, but that's not necessarily an inclusive statement. It's like, you're welcome, but we don't really have anything of support for you. And because of the things I dealt with, I was like, well, hey, do you have maybe shelter or space for, women? It's like, well, no, but we can put you with the men. And it's like, oh, don't want to do.
Why would you do that? Yeah.
Why would I do that? And it's like, well, we don't have anything, for women specifically, here. So, and because I served in a reserve component, a lot of times they're like, well, since you don't have a VA rating, we won't really help you with any other like financial assistance or connect you with any other VA services. So I was kind of just out in the cold. And during the midst of, all this, it already didn't have, a place to live, kind of going from, family member to family member and, sorority sisters. The car last possession that I really had, my car got repossessed. So now I have absolutely nothing, have nothing. And so, I felt bad. I was already dealing with stuff. And now my mom, dealing with losing her youngest child, I didn't want to continue to burden her. So it's like, well, what do I do? Fortunately got connected. One of my sorority sisters kind of helped me connect with some services. So I started to kind of reestablish and, do a little better, got a little part-time job, was able to get housing assistance just through the, local housing authority. And so I started, doing better, but I realized like, well, I know how hard it was for me. So dealing with this and not getting any help, I wonder how many other women are also dealing with this that are here, and they go to these places and you're kind of told, that thank you for your service, but we can't help you, So that's kind of the idea of where BattleBetty started. It's like, in the Marine Corps and with all of the services, you know, you look out for each other. You know, there's no Marine left behind, but I'm sure it's, you know, no soldier left behind, no airman left behind.
Right.
It's the same. You look out for each other. So it's like, well, got to do something, you know? So now that I was doing a little better, it kind of started out with, let's just do peer support. Let's just give, you know, other women that are around a way to talk to each other. That's a safe space, you know, and it's going to be local. You know, it's not going to be, I think when I was looking, traveling to Rock Hill, which is from Spartanburg, there's like an hour.
You could get VA benefits or get a VA disability rating, or no? Did they not tell you about that?
No, the Marine Corps was kind of like, thank you. And, you know, go forth and do great things. When I would go to our local VA, and like they have the admin office. Well, no, well, you served in the reserves. You know, you didn't have, I think it's 2 years of service. So I fell short of that like active duty time. Well, we can't really help you. It's not really worth it to put through. And I was like, well, that just seems not right. But
it shouldn't matter. You know, I mean,
the truth
if you wore the uniform for a year and you were medically discharged, say, for whatever reason, you should still be able to go to the VA and get help. That just doesn't even make sense to me.
It doesn't. And the truth was, you're right. Unfortunately, there is a lot of misinformation, even from the veterans admin itself, because it does take a little more work. If you're in a reserve component, if you have other medical things, particularly with military sexual trauma, if it's not documented, like right when it happens, which a lot of women and even some of our male service members, you know,
they're probably not documented because they don't want to talk about it.
It's not documented. And then if you do tell somebody, you end up in that situation like the young lady out in Texas, Vanessa Guillen, like, hey, I told somebody and
no one did anything.
No one did anything. And it ended up resulting in her death. And it's like, you get so worried about all those other things. It's not talked about. And so the admin office was like, yeah, you know, we can't help you. I got really, really lucky that kind of an old salty dog. He's a Vietnam veteran, you know, those old guys that absolutely everything.
Tough as nails, man.
Tough as nails. So so an old gentleman, Mr. Terry, was like, you know, calls me young lady. You know what, young lady, you know, we can help with that. And that's kind of how it started. So I, you know, had applied and, you know, didn't get any help from the VA and kind of did it on my own. But he did it. And I think within 6 months after I had been kind of 3 years without any VA support, went from 0% to 90%. Like we didn't add anything extra. It was the same paperwork from my service record and doctors that I, you know, visited. And he was like, yeah, you know, sometimes it's as simple as who's reviewing it and how you write it, which
it's crazy though. It shouldn't be that hard. You know,
shouldn't be that hard.
You know, I was in a meeting. Actually, okay, I wasn't in a meeting. I was in Clubhouse. I lied. And they were talking about the difference between federal and state, you know. And so one of the things that they don't tell you when you're leaving service is wherever you are, you feel like you're going to be moving to, look at what the state benefits are for veterans. Okay. Now, when we first moved to North Carolina, they were like, oh, we're veteran friendly. I'm like, yes. Now, veteran friendly to me is something totally different than what they say veteran friendly is. I've been here for 12 years. I still don't understand what they mean by veteran friendly. They allow us to live here. Is that what that means? You know,
they say the same thing here. And South Carolina, oh, we're the most patriotic state. According to what? Like, because y'all, you know, do the thank you for your service and the flag. Like, I don't know where the criteria for this falls, but
But there are states, you know, and I talk about Texas all the time only because they are so, when I say veteran friendly, they love their veterans. Okay. They do. They have all of this stuff. And I remember, I think June was Women Veterans Month, I think.
Yeah, Women's
Or there was a
Veterans
Women
Day,
Veterans Day. Right.
Yeah.
And so I was Googling about, you know, is there a parade or something? Zero in North Carolina. Zero. Nothing. Zilch.
No,
and I said,
nothing here either.
This is crazy. This just it doesn't make sense, you know? And so I'm a little perturbed. I'm just going to say, North Carolina, if you're listening, I'm really upset with you. But you know, when you find yourself at when your back is up against the wall, like you did, you know, you had things your apartment taken away, your car was taken, you had nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, what do I do? I mean, what's your mindset there? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what do you tell yourself to make yourself keep going? Because, everyone's been there. You've been at that point in your life where like, something's got to change, and some people just give up and say, yeah, whatever. Yeah. And other people are like, oh no, this is not happening to me. So what was your mindset? What made you say, this is not happening to me, I'm going to go do this? Is that when you met what do you call the old salty dog?
Old salty dog. No, actually I met Mr. Terry a couple of years later, after I'd started doing things with BattleBetty, and, he kind of knew a little bit of our work, and we were talking, and, he asked me about it. But it's honestly a process, because when you're there and you're in that terrible place and everything seems to, be going bad, a lot of times you feel like, man, was that even worth it? Like, was the stuff I went through and the stuff I'm continuing to deal with, like, man, I thought I loved it and it was great, but man, is the life that I have now worth that? Mm-hmm. And you kind of have to, like I said, kind of keep moving. It's like, well, you know what? Today was absolutely horrible, but, maybe tomorrow. And so for a long time, that was kind of where, well, maybe tomorrow. Well,
you
maybe
breathe.
tomorrow.
You take a step forward.
Just kind of keep going.
Just breathing. Was that part of why you wanted to do the BattleBetty Foundation?
Yeah.
Was what some of the things that you went through?
Some of the things I went through, and a lot of it, honestly, was my sister. So my sister was, a huge supporter of me in general. She was always very proud, quick to tell everyone, I'm her big little sister. So she was a little bit taller than me. But, a couple years after being back home, going down to her gravesite, it's like, my sister, even when things were bad and we were, eating chocolate bars and watching Walker, Texas Ranger, she always thought that I could do better and I could, get better. And it just kind of became that. And so once I kind of moved from like, man, maybe tomorrow, to like, okay, I'm going to do it. It was how BattleBetty started. It's like, man, how many other women are also going through that? How many other women maybe don't have support or are, dealing with that transition and not, getting anywhere? South Carolina has approximately 50,000 women veterans. And at the time, there was not a single organization doing anything specifically for women. And, when
That's
I looked,
sad. That's just sad. I just don't understand that.
But they're military friendly, right?
Oh, right. We love our veterans.
We love our vets. I started looking, and I'm like, dang, if we go up the coast, at that time in 2018, I think there was Final Salute in the DMV area. And then like all the way the other way, you had the young lady out in Texas with Grace After Fire. But I'm like, there's nothing in between, Right. So it started, like that. It's like, okay, how are these women helping to support other women vets? So that's how we started with the peer support. Like, let's give somebody, a place to talk, because that was one of the things I really needed. And then it grew like as a kind of long-term plan. Like, man, I remember going to everybody I can think of and being told they can't help women with housing. Man, if I could do it, I want to help women with housing. Then it's like, dang, I remember, having to kind of suck it up and go to a veteran stand down, and then you get there and it's, all flannel stuff and socks that are too big and no feminine hygiene products. And it's like, well,
you're like, what is this?
What is this? And then you're like, okay, if help somebody with that. So everything that BattleBetty started doing was because those are things that I noticed that were just lacking. So peer support, that's shelter space, that's going to stand downs and being able to get socks that fit, just some of the basic things that they had.
Simple stuff, nothing.
20 organizations, for our, our male counterparts, and didn't have anything for us. And it's like, you would think that it would be kind of like a duh. If our male counterparts are dealing with these things and need these services, our women serve alongside them every step of the way,
But so see, everyone's idea of, when you talk to a civilian and you say, describe your idea of what a veteran looks like. Yeah. It's never a female.
No. It's always like my grandpa who served in World War II,
Yeah, or my
somebody
uncle, my
or my
brother was in the
uncle.
Marine. No one ever says, "Oh,
Yeah.
wow, my sister, my mom, my
Yeah.
my auntie."
Yeah. Or
Um,
basically like John Rambo. You like,
yeah,
like you have this idea of like, the 6 foot, strapped guy. And it's like, well, that's not a, I
I
mean,
know.
even back in the day, when you think about like Buffalo Soldiers, people never think
Mhm.
about women, but you have,
Mhm.
veterans like, Kathy Williams, but she served under a man's name.
Yes.
You think about the women of the 688 that served in,
Yes.
World War II. And it's like, did y'all think that like everything was run by guys? Like that just
Right.
doesn't even realistically kind of make sense,
Mhm. Well,
as
and
long as,
it makes sense in what's happening. So if you look
yeah,
at the instances of MST and all of this
yeah,
other stuff and how it stalled, and then
yeah,
you think of the number of women who are wearing the uniform in a general
mm-hmm,
capacity who are at the White
mm-hmm,
House.
mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm,
zero, you
yeah,
know. So yeah, it makes sense now that, I mean, they know about it, but
mm-hmm,
I just feel like sometimes you get up there and you want to do right or not do
mm-hmm,
right, but you want to do the best you can. But, if you're a general, you're just trying to protect your job and protect your pension.
yeah,
Okay. I'm just
yeah,
keeping it real. Don't
yeah.
get mad at me. This is just how I see it. So tell us a little bit about your foundation. Who does it help? Who can apply? Where can people go to, if you have someone reach out to you, what kind of woman veteran needs your organization?
Well, so one of the things I was very, very intentional about is that we have a very, very low barrier to entry. So basically, you have to be a woman in the service or a veteran and be able to prove that, whether that's your, VA letter, that's old military ID card that you're still holding on to, anything like that. Because again, the things that I faced, if like no VA rating, okay, we can't help you. No, extended time, overseas, oh, we can't help you. So I don't care whether you were in active duty, you were guard, you reserve, whether you were honorably discharged or not because of circumstance, whether you have a VA rating or not. If you're in need, you can come to us for help. And so
Awesome.
like I said, we have an emergency shelter. It's currently set up right now for single women. One of the things I would like to eventually add is that a place for women and children, because of course they don't have space for women. They also don't have space for women and their kids. Clothes closet where you can get, feminine clothes, because not everybody, like I said, wants to wear, the Salvation
Flannel
Army jackets that
pajamas.
they give out. We have
Right.
a gear locker that's available, kind of like you remember from boot camp, the gear locker that
Yes.
has absolutely
Yeah.
everything. So it has everything from your basic toiletries and hygiene items to, towels and, household goods, your paper towels, toilet paper, trash bags, cleaning
Right.
supplies. We continue to do our peer support. We do that monthly. And of course, because we went from, the year from hell with, the pandemic, which we may be going back into.
Right.
We
To another year of hell. Thank you.
another year of hell. And South Carolina is particularly slow on the uptake when it comes to, precautions, but we
Right.
do it over Zoom, like
Right.
if you log on to Zoom, and we try to make it as easily accessible as possible so people can find it. It's done, through Zoom. We do offer it in person as well, of course, require that you, have your masks and whatnot. So
Right.
do the peer support. We're working on adding equine therapy as well. So
Mhm.
we've been talking to a local ranch, because one of the things the VA is great at is giving you a pill for it. Like no matter what it is, they have a
Yes.
pill for it.
Oh,
So
yeah. Got a
looking in
headache? Here's a
this,
pill. Got an
here's a
ache?
pill.
Here's a pill. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm so
So
anti-pill. I
yeah,
get it. If you have to have a pill to stay
yeah,
alive, I totally get that.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't. Ugh.
There's no care in it. It's just like,
Mm-mm.
there's the pill for that. But I have a service dog, and that kind of holistic non-pill way has been a great help for me. And I've heard talk about other holistic things, so like gardening,
Mhm.
horses and things like that. So that's something that we want to offer, give you an alternative to just kind of over medicating
Right.
yourself. So
Yeah.
we're offering that, and we also do workshops, because say you are the woman that, you went in at 18 and you went from your mama's house to Uncle Sam's house and they took care of everything. You may not know how to translate all the amazing things you did in the military to a civilian job.
I didn't. I had no clue.
And we do all this, great stuff. And it's like, in control of, the welfare and safety of, our fellow soldiers or Marines or airmen, you're in control of, millions of dollars of DOD type stuff. It's like you have all these great, soft and leadership skills, but you just don't know how to translate that. And other just kind of just life skills, because there's a very particular way we talk to each other in the military. And especially if you've been in leadership, it's like, private bag of donuts. I told you to go do this. Why aren't you doing it? And you can't exactly
do that on the outside. Just saying, I tried it. It didn't work. No, I'm joking.
But it's true, because that one time you're sitting in there and you're like, why aren't you doing what I told you? Like, I just, for a while, it took me along to click that. Say, but why? Like, it seems so simple. I told you to do it. You do it. Like, what's the problem? Right. But how to kind of deal with that, how to get those soft skills and interpersonal skills to realize, sometimes it's taking that extra deep breath, realize, okay, I may have to, ask for this instead of demand, for this, but things like that. So you
really help women with resources also, if they're in need. Sometimes they don't need the shelter, but they need something.
They need something,
right. And it surprises me, I was so glad to hear that, eventually you're going to open it up to, women veterans and their children, because, you see, I had someone ask me, they're like, I don't understand why, women veterans are homeless. And I'm like, really?
Really? Yeah.
Wait, how much time do you have? Let me see how to explain this. But what they don't realize is that if they have kids, because they have nowhere to go with their kids, their kids are spread out amongst relatives, friends, etc., because they can't take care of them. And that's a horrible way, to do that. So I'm so glad that you are thinking about, doing that, because keeping families together is, that's a strength. When you have your kids, you're going to fight to make sure your kids are taken care of. What's next for the BattleBetty Foundation? What are you guys working on?
The big thing now, of course, is fermenting our relationship with the Equine Therapy Ranch, and really moving forward with adding this, space for women and children. As you're talking about, splitting up families is never a positive thing. So you get a lot of places that may take women with children, they have weird limits on it. Like, you can only have one kid, or you can't have any male children with you, or you can't have any male children over a certain age. And we want to give, women with children a place to go. Because I think there's average, every woman in America has approximately, 2-point-something, kids. So most, a lot of women do have children, and it's like you said, they're spread out because we can't stay together. And I'd rather us be homeless together, than not. So it's trying to give them a place to go. So we're hoping to kind of pattern after, there's an organization out in, Kansas, I think, called the Veterans Community Project. And so they've adopted this kind of tiny home model. And it's actually been phenomenal for a lot of veteran communities. And we're hoping to get property and space to do something like that. So we have space for single women. We have space for our women with children. We, take the resource center and put it, on this property. So you can come, you can commune, we can still have all the services there.
Like a little community. It's like a little community. Yeah.
And like you said, and those additional resources as well. So, that's why we have so much in our resource center now, because one of the other big, drawbacks from veterans, when you're looking for service, you kind of end up in this referral spiral. So it's like you go to A tells you we can't do this, you go to B says, and we can only do part of that, go to C. And by the time you're done, you've spoke to, 10 different people, and you still may not quite get what you need. So we want to have it as kind of a one-stop place. Like, if you come here, whatever that need may be,
you end there too.
Yeah.
You start there and you end there.
There. And if absolutely, it's completely out of scope for us, we don't want that referral to go past one other person. Like, we're not trying to send you, in this myriad of place, and that you end up kind of more despondent by it. It's like, man, I'm just never going to get to, the person I need for help. So we're trying to cut that off. Either you get it here, or by absolute worst, there's only one other person you need to talk to outside of us. So that's what we're working toward.
Well, DeAndria, tell us where we can find you. If someone needs to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
Okay, so we do have our website, and it's BattleBetty Foundation, all is one word.com. You can find us on social media. So we are available on Facebook and Instagram. You can always reach out to us there. As executive director of a small nonprofit, I'm basically everybody. So the executive director, the grant writer, the social media person. So if you reach out to it, I'm going to answer. So
as my mother would say, you're the chief cook and bottle washer.
There you go. But yeah, so on social media, you can always find us there as well. And phone number, if you need to give us a call. So our office number is 864-673-9092. You can always call. If we are not in the office at a time, absolutely leave us a message and we'll get back to you. We will definitely make sure that everyone who contacts us, whether it's through our website, social media, or give us a call on the phone, we'll make sure we connect with you.
Well, it's been such a pleasure doing this with you and learning more about your foundation. I think anytime someone does something, for a veteran, it's because they've been through something and they want to reach out and help other veterans, whether it's male, female, whatever, because we are our own little community. Yeah. It's hard to explain to a civilian what we're going through, because they'll say, why don't you just do this? Why don't you go here? Why don't you do, and you're like, you don't get it,
It's an exclusive club. I think they said less than 10% of the entire American population has actually served in the military. It's a thing that only sometimes another veteran or service member can get
understand
going through things. Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you, DeAndria. I hope everyone got a chance to learn more about DeAndria and what she's doing. I mean, she's a mover and shaker in our veteran-friendly South Carolina and North Carolina. But thank you so much. And as usual, you guys, please stay safe, take care of each other, and until next time.